you're there if you are.
Hi, good morning. Good, how are you?
Very good, Dr. Shiv. It's great to have you here today. And I couldn't be more excited about the session you have prepared, because reading through the speakers list, knowing the quality of work you're doing for the Humanistic Management Network in India, I have no doubt that this will be a very fruitful and very interesting discussion. So I'd like to hand over to you. And thanks a lot for being with us, and a great session to everyone.
Thank you very much, Ernst. Very good morning, very good afternoon to each and everyone in this India country session, which is focusing on humanistic solutions for society 5.0. In this session, we have with us a team of eminent scholars, practitioners, including Professor Dr. Pankaj Jain, who is a professor of philosophy and religion, heading the department at Flem University. We have with us Dr. Harpreet A.D. Singh. She has been the former CEO of Alliance Air and currently executive director of Air India, first women Indian commercial pilot. We have with us Chief Operating Officer of one of a very unique organizations, that is Maharashtra Medical Emergency Services, which has shown great performance during the COVID times, and before that also in terms of saving lives of individuals who cannot access the hospitals. We have Dr. Dhaneshwar Shelke, CEO of MEMS. We have with us Dr. Jaydeep, Mr. Jaydeep, who is CEO of one tech-driven company facilitating education, that is Metaversity. And we have one social activist and environmental activist, Mr. Paresh Rawal, with us. And my colleague from India chapter, Dr. Alex Joseph, who will be taking the session in the later half. He has also joined. I welcome you all, and to open the session, we have a very, very distinguished, esteemed guest who is a religious, spiritualist scholar who has done a great social service in 4 to 5 decades, founder of Atmiya Society and president of Atmiya University, Swami Tyag Vallabh. He has kindly accepted our invitation to open the session, but due to travel, he has shared his video message just now. I'll be sharing with you all. But before that, while thanking again to my colleague, Dr. Ernst Kimakowicz, for giving us a very good guidance in shaping Humanistic Management Network in India since 2017 informally and 2018 launch formally, when we launched it, when we hosted face-to-face conference at Bangalore. So I invite Dr. Ernst to formally welcome each and everyone, and then we take the session forward.
Thank you. Thank you, Shiv. Yes, as you said, it's been very long and not so long that we have been collaborating. It feels, if I'm looking at the amount of work that we have delivered in India, and the amount of events and people that we have reached and touched through your work as our chapter lead, and the members in your chapter that are contributing. I think we have really gone far in India in a very short time. So if you're saying that we formally only launched 3 years ago, 4 years ago, the chapter, and if I see what we have done already, then I could not be more thankful to India and the work that you are doing under your leadership, Dr. Shiv. At the same time, though, it's not only about us being happy that we can deliver our message and bring our message to India, but there's always, as with learning in general, it is always a two-way street, right? So I think it is also that we as a global network benefit from the India chapter and benefit from the spirituality, the different outlook on important matters of life, and to simply complement the sometimes too Western-centric views that we're holding in management science and in business and economic sciences, that we complement that with insights that we gain from other regions of the world, and you're playing an important role for us as a global network there. So thank you so much for all your work. Once again, congratulations for assembling and bringing together such a great panel as we're having today, and I can't wait for you to get started and don't want to take any more time away from what undoubtedly will be a more interesting conversation than what I'm saying here. So thank you, Dr. Shev, over to you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ernst. And just as you mentioned, that explains that why we have selected the theme Society 5.0, connecting it with the humanistic solutions, because we want to see that how the tech-driven growth, which is going to the next stage as per the Japanese International Cooperation Agency's concept of Society 5.0, is going to take us to the next level, while we have to also address the humanistic issues. So now, not taking much of the time, I would start with the opening address of Swami Tyagvallabhji, and then we will take the session forward.
Namaste and Jai Swaminarayan. Good morning and good evening to all the delegates and speakers from the different parts of the world. Co-founder of Humanistic Management Network, Dr. Ernst von Kimkovic, India Country Chapter Lead, Dr. Shiv Tripathi, distinguished speakers, Dr. Pankaj Jain, Dr. Dhyaneshwar Shelke, Dr. Harpreet A.D. Singh, Dr. Gerald Jaideep, Sri Paresh Rawal, scholars, members and delegates from different country chapters of Humanistic Management Network. Ladies and gentlemen, at the outset, I am thankful to HMN Global Organizing Team for inviting me to open the India country session of this prestigious conference. I congratulate the organizing committee for selecting such an important theme, humanistic solution for Society 5.0. No development can be meaningful unless it's human-centric, human-driven, and for humanity at large. Globally, the modern development models are being challenged constantly for producing the undesirable consequences, which are resulting to wider social, economic, and environmental challenges across the world. The increasing tendency to engage in maximization of benefits for one individual, organization, country, or group of countries at the cost of others can never be a sustainable solution for humanity. Today, we need to live in the spirit of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, that is, entire planet is one family. The concept of Society 5.0, which envisions and looks beyond the technology-driven growth model of Society 4.0, recognizes the role of individual in shaping the new world which is sustainable and humanistic. The Indian approach of life and society recognized this since time immemorial. The concept of self in India has never been conceptualized in isolation from the order of society, economy, or humanity. The philosophy of karma and dharma emphasize the morality at the core of human behavior. Today, the time is to relook and reorient our development approach to meet the requirement of sustainable planet for larger common good. Atmi University is established under auspices of His Divine Holiness Hariprasad Swamiji Maharaj. Swamiji often used to say, the root cause of every problem is lack of spiritual harmony, that is Atmiyata, in oneself, family, society and nature. The journey of spiritual harmony begins with the individual and extended to family, society, nation, and nature and the world. We have to act in such a ways that create a space for spiritual harmony. If we decide to plant honesty, goodness, humility, perseverance, thoughtfulness, forgiveness, patience, and faith, we can reap trust, friends, greatness, victory, harmony, reconciliation, improvement, and miracles. Yes, it can make a difference. At Atmi University, we recognize that sustainable development requires sustainable world order in which every individual has a role to play. A role for making the world humanistic and happier with focus on collective well-being irrespective of human-created boundaries. Based on the research, we have envisaged an education system that will transform the way we look at the development and growth in the modern context. A happy, healthy, and contented human mind can be more creative and productive than those who chase the wealth and progress without much of the long-term purpose. I am confident that with such a great panel of experts and participants, this conference session would spark many actionable ideas towards developing more humanistic solutions for a humanistic world. The spirit of Society 5.0. Once again, I remain thankful to you all and wish you all the very best for a collective journey for larger cause. Namaste, Jai Swaminarayan. Thank you very much.
So thanks to Swami Tyag Vallabh for opening the session with his address. And now it's my honor and pleasure to invite a very distinguished colleague, basically a technology technocrat turned professor of philosophy with vast experience India and abroad, Professor Dr. Pankaj Jain. Not taking much of the time, I request Dr. Pankaj Jain for his keynote address.
Thank you very much, Professor Shiv Tripathi, my old friend from all the way in college days. And I've been hearing about Humanistic Management Network for many years. And finally, I'm here to present some of my thoughts from my research and my teaching. Yes, my undergraduate was in computer science with Dr. Not doctor that time, but we were in the same college. And now here we are in this conference. So yeah, after undergraduate, I went into religious studies in the US. I did my master's and PhD, and then taught at a number of universities there for more than a decade or even longer. And now I'm back in India and heading the Humanities and Languages Department, also chairing the India Center here in Pune at a university called Flame University. So let me start my presentation. I hope you can all see my screen, my PowerPoint, right? So the title of my presentation is Spiritual Humanism and Society 5.0. Very interesting concept of 5.0, Society 5.0, as declared by Japanese leaders in 2016, is taking a step forward from Industry 4.0 that was launched in Germany. What this Japanese framework does is it's bringing back focus on the society, back to society, rather than just on manufacturing, which is a great thing, especially for somebody who teaches religious philosophies and so on. So as Industry 4.0 was talking about Internet of Things and AI and so on, Society 5.0 is talking about convergence of cyberspace and physical space, balancing economic development with the resolution of social issues, and human-centered society. So humans are coming back as the focus in Society 5.0. Now, when we talk of AI and society becoming more and more automated and artificial intelligence playing a huge role going forward, what do we have? What is going to happen in the society? So as I was preparing for this presentation, I came across this quote from one of the most popular spiritual gurus in India and abroad, in India and else, beyond India also. And what he says, what he envisioned when he was asked about AI and Society 5.0 and things like that, In his words, artificial intelligence and robots doing most work on Earth is the golden age of consciousness. This is the time human beings can focus on consciousness. Everything that human beings are doing right now by gathering data, analyzing and processing will become irrelevant. So to my mind, and if I can interpret from Sadhguru's words, it seems like AI is a great news for really going back to the core of being human. Being human is not just having a body. Being human is not just having a mind. Being human, what differentiates humans from other species probably, is that humans can really reflect and really awaken their consciousness and take it to the next level, where humans can really feel as if they're part of not just this planet, but the entire cosmos. That is the underlying consciousness in every being in the universe, not just human beings, of course, but every being has the same consciousness as described in Hindu philosophy, Jain philosophy, Buddhist philosophy, and many other philosophies of the world. Speaking from Indian perspective here, if I can focus on Hinduism, Buddhism, Sikhism, Jainism, all indigenous philosophies of India definitely talks about the same consciousness, same Chaitanya, same Atman or same Atma or same spirit that is present in every being in the universe, across species, across planets, across the cosmos. So that is the great news. So Society 5.0 can usher us into that era where we are really focusing on our consciousness, not just on our thoughts, emotions, physical energy, or so on. Now, but as we are getting ready for that Society 5.0, or if we want to start talking about consciousness, we have to first of all think of the, step towards consciousness is definitely religious framework across the world. So if we project our numbers, so Society 5.0 was talking about 2017 and beyond, 2050 to be really precise. Now, what is going to happen in 2050? That is the question. In 2050, if this graph is visible to you, hopefully, but this is coming from Pew Research Center in the US. And as they projected their data, what they found is that the number of people that are going to be affiliated to different religions is only going to increase. So Christianity percentage across the world is going to remain same, but Muslim percentage is going to increase. Unaffiliated, those who may not be affiliated to a religion today, that number is only going to go down. So more and more people are going to be identifying themselves with one religion or the other. Christianity, Islam, Hinduism is going to remain at 15%. Buddhism is going to go down from their research, from Pew Research data. Folk religion is going to go a bit down as well, but almost all other religions are going to be at the same level or are going to only increase. What this tells me is that today more than 85% of the world's population adheres to at least one religious tradition, and more than one in many Asian countries such as in India and Japan. And in 2019, Pew Research Center surveyed 34 countries where more than 38,000 people equated faith in religion with morality. In India, for 79% of population, being religious is essential to being moral. This study shows that without an academic survey of diverse world religions, we miss out on the core content of what defines being human and what defines being ethical. So this is again going back to the same idea that being human is to have that awareness for consciousness, that conscience or consciousness, almost synonymously, if we can use, that is the most important idea, most important dimension of being a human being, as highlighted by Sadhguru and as highlighted by Pew Research data, as we see in this research that they did a couple of years back. Now, so what I'm proposing here is that if we are really going to go and develop Society 5.0 framework, we have to really make sure that our students in our classrooms, being a professor, most of us, I'm assuming in this conference, are coming from academic background. So if I can speak as a professor, if I can correlate with my other fellow academics here, I think we have to really make sure that our students are really well groomed in not just one religion, but comparative study of different world religious philosophies and spirituality. That would be, I think, essential seed that we have to plant in every student's mind, so that when the time comes, when they get proper nourishment, that seed can one day bloom into full full tree, and that can only benefit the society. And how? I will list what could be the benefits of studying different religious philosophies across the world. So first of all, religion or spirituality in general helps us transcending the silos of knowledge categories, and it helps us becoming enlightened citizens. Being enlightened means becoming one with the universe. We need this oneness as we increasingly feel the need to transcend these boundaries, now more than ever before. We need to break the barriers between nature and culture and similar divisions among castes, ethnicities, races, classes, religions, nationalities, and so on. And here is a quote from Zen thinking, which says, "You are that which is beyond belief, which is beyond thought, which is beyond emotion, which is beyond sensation, which is beyond perception, which is beyond all experience, and which is beyond the mind itself. You are a presence of awakened non-dual awareness, undivided by any mental formation. Just be impersonally, unconditional, and free." This is the idea that Indic, or broadly speaking, Asian, or even beyond spirituality or spiritual philosophy that talks about. If we have to get rid of our barriers, if we have to get rid of our mind-body complexes, the so-called objective thinking or empirical thinking that has only given us climate change and nuclear terrorism and all kinds of pandemics and so on, this is the way going forward. When we can go beyond all barriers, this is what is coming from Zen thinking, that is coming from Indian/Asian/world spiritualities, that oneness is what we need. So this is going to be an essential ingredient for all our academic classrooms and syllabi, in my humble opinion. Coming more from academic, going a bit deeper into academic disciplines, we see that there are, at present, we have silos such as social science, natural science, humanities, and non-academic knowledge. These are the four major silos of knowledge categories across the world, and India as well. So if we need to break the barriers between different academic disciplines, such as sciences and humanities. Most of the theoretical and practical problems we face today have arisen due to such dichotomies. Most leaders and visionaries today call for a holistic approach at all levels. Such a holistic and metaphysical approach can succeed if we include spirituality in our education. We know that spiritual experience at the highest level, irrespective of any religion, connects with the universe. It means to think beyond the body, beyond the mind, and to go even beyond thinking. Any learning that is rooted in that kind of experience can help us break all sorts of barriers. So barriers of caste, class, religion, nationalities, and so on, but also barriers across all these knowledge disciplines. This is the goal of all spiritual experiences, and those goals, and if we can at least share some glimpses of those goals in our classrooms, that would prepare students to really go beyond all barriers, beyond all boundaries, and so on. Next advantage or benefit of bringing spiritual philosophies in our classrooms is going to be this: nature is my religion, the earth is my temple. I think we really need this very much today as we are facing climate change issues and pandemics and so on. So religious philosophies can help us solve existential threats such as climate change. We know that many religious traditions equate spirituality with reverence for nature and respect for the earth. In Indian culture especially, revering animals, trees, mountains, and rivers have been going on for thousands of years. This respectful attitude can help us transcend and connect our spiritual traditions with the environment and protect it. When we build our thinking based on a spiritual philosophy, we would be inclined to think from a non-Western paradigm. In the traditional Western way, the philosophical paradigm dichotomizes humans from nature, whereas in Indian and other non-Western philosophies, such as Taoism and Zen also, in Zen Buddhism and even Shinto in Japan, humans are an integral part of nature, as alluded to above. This helps us in thinking from a non-Western paradigm, further diversifying our academia and pedagogy. So what is going on in present-day academic syllabi, even in India, is we are still stuck with following mostly Western way of syllabi, Western way of philosophies, Western literature, Western ideas of pedagogy. If we can really diversify and bring in more non-Western paradigms into our educational thinking, into our pedagogy, it will really help us transcend the boundaries between nature and culture, as exemplified in this quotation above in this picture, and also as we see even today in rural parts of Japan, China, and India, and other parts of Asia, and other parts of especially non-Western cultures, as in Africa and even Native American traditions in North and South America also, where humans are seen as integral part of nature, not divorced from nature. That is my humble submission, that we need to bring that paradigm more and more into our academic pedagogies. Next is the example of Wanzheng, who in 629 to 645, when he lived, he traveled all the way from China to India in search of these spiritual philosophies. So this is another exemplary role model that by his life, by his actions, by his exploration, he united two major ancient civilizations by spiritual philosophies as the bridge between the two, being of Buddhism. So this reason to include academic study of religion is to promote intercultural and interracial harmony. We know that spiritual experience is shared among all faiths. Without learning about different diverse religions, students will remain ignorant about the people living in different countries. To conclude, religious studies can help us prepare our students better for their respective careers. It can train them to thrive in today's job market by developing global connections, inspiring non-Western paradigms, transcending all kinds of silos, and preparing them to be good stewards of our natural resources, and promoting intercultural and interracial harmony. So these were my humble submissions, and I hope with these ideas, probably we can be a bit closer to our goal of developing society 5.0. If there are any questions, I would be happy. Otherwise, thank you again, Dr. Tripathi, and the entire team of Humanistic Management Network. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Pankaj Jain, for very impressive and nice, thought-provoking keynote, setting the theme for rest of the discussion, which our fellow distinguished speakers will take forward. As you mentioned that the spirituality can bridge the cultures and religions, and the common thread of spirituality can drive towards more humanistic orientation. So I think I also completely echo with that it's a spirituality that we need today, and spirituality in terms of one humanity, one world that can protect the spirit of living together. And in African philosophy, we say Ubuntu, that I exist because you exist, and that's why we all exist. So that one humanity is the common driver, whether we call it spirituality or religious philosophy or essential integration of all religions. But the common goal is the protecting and driving the humanity for better and better and better world. So with this, I would request my fellow colleague, Dr. Alex Joseph, to take the session forward with the eminent experts. And at the end, if the time permits, we will definitely have some question and answer reflections on the different. If your time permits, please join us for the last part of the session, that is for the question answer from around 5:10 to 5:30. If we are not, if we are in time, we can manage in time. So thank you once again. And Dr. Alex, please. Handing over the session to you.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Shiv Tripathi, Vice Chancellor, Hatmi University, and Dr. Ernst for setting the tone for today's session. We have with us an array of speakers, wide range of speakers, and these distinguished speakers are here to share with us solutions to the myriad problems humanity faces today. As Honorable Swamiji said in the beginning, no development becomes meaningful, purposeful if it is not human-centric. And Dr. Pankaj mentioned, unless we focus on education, because the future of society is shaped in classrooms, unless we focus on education, we will not be able to create a society which is value-ridden. Now, coming to the next speaker, we have with us Dr. Dhaneshwar Shelke. Dr. Shelke is the Chief Operating Officer at BVG India Limited for the Emergency Medical Services. Before coming to EMS in the year 2012, he was Head of Operations of the EMS for Goa State for GVK EMRI. He has also contributed as Program Director, Postgraduate Program in Emergency Care at Stanford University, an initiative of USAMRI at Hyderabad. Prior to the year 2004, he has worked with Dinath Mangeshwar Hospital, Hardika Trauma Hospital, and at Pune as Emergency Medical Service Officer in Emergency Department and Intensive Care Unit. Over to you, Dr. Daneshwar Shelke, for your talk. Dr. Shelke? Dr. Shelke, I guess you are on mute. If you could unmute and...
If some
Dr.
technological
Shelke,
issues, Dr. Harpreet Singh.
Yeah.
Dr. Harpreet Eddy Singh is there.
I guess he is ready now, yes.
One minute, I'll just sort out the technical glitch. Just sharing the presentation. Good evening, all of you. Good evening, Shiv. It is pleasure to be here and share my perspective about how we responded to the recent pandemic which we as the world faced, and certainly how prepared we are to respond to the future events which will unfold in few months. So basically, as emergency medical services, we as an organization, we have the umbrella-based approach to address the issues. And unlike European or US way of responding, the care component, the emergency response center, and the training component, all of it are operated under the one umbrella, and that brings a lot of harmony to getting the professionals who will be responding in the during the pandemic. It also helps to ensure that the Right.
Yeah.
Hello.
It's fine. So it's next is Dr. Harpreet, and after Harpreet, Jaideep and Paresh Rawal.
So basically, while we respond to the emergency, certainly these three aspects are extremely important to ensure that we have the uniform response. At Emergency Medical Services, we have the about 6,000 plus professionals responding to the through the 937 ambulances across the state. And actually, during the pandemic, if we look at the way we respond to the pandemic, it is nothing but ensuring that our routine emergency services or the routine processes are accelerated to the level of requirement. So if you see as a services, we have almost responded to the 65 lakh emergencies as I speak with all of you. And during the pandemic, we have served about 590,000 COVID patients. So this brings the key aspect to our key discussion points, what we learned during this, and what we need to probably utilize in the future response. As a routine services, we usually respond to the pregnancy-related emergencies, trauma emergencies, or the medical emergencies. But if you see the impact of these services, which is causing in developing country like India, there has been a significant decrease in maternal mortality and the infant mortality in the recent past across the states where the emergency services have been operating. Now, the second important aspect of reduction in the mortality is in the trauma, where the number of vehicles have increased, where the road have been becoming much better, the speed have been increasing, but the number of trauma deaths have significantly reduced. So how does this help us to actually work during the pandemic like COVID? Because if you see during the normalcy, we anyway respond to about 4,000 emergencies a day, and to adapt to the new requirements of the pandemic, what we the challenges that as a system we saw, it was the key challenge when we faced the pandemic was availability of the basic supplies, including the the PPEs, for example, or the social norms which caused our paramedics or the doctors who were responding to the emergencies, that how do you really adapt or utilize the social norms and then still serve the community. For example, that was what the understanding in the first wave, and that is what also it was a fear in the minds of the provider their homes. How do we take them from their homes and take them to the hospital? So this was something which was the key challenge which we faced primarily during the first wave. While ambulances, taking them to the hospital, availability of the COVID bed was the key challenge that again, we as the system we faced, and country as a whole, this was the key issue at one point of time. Also, if you look at the challenge, it was also provision of the emergency care for the routine patients during the COVID pandemic. For example, the renal failure patient, the chest pain patient, the pregnancy-related emergency, all of them also had challenge to get into the hospital. So if we look at the challenges from the system's perspective, the system which handles about 4,000 patients a day, having the policies which can quickly adapt to the changing environment was the key part, and we ensured that whatever was framed globally, nationally, at the state and at the local level was quickly adapted into the system to ensure that the patients are helped at the greatest time of the need. Also ensuring that some of the technology solutions were brought into the system so that the resource availability in the hospital was immediately understood in the control room of the emergency services like Untitled. Now we actually adopted some 6 key strategies to ensure that to adapt to treat the emergency patients and take them to the hospital. One of the key aspects of emergency care is access, and if you can able to create the access to the entire community 24/7, we as an emergency service we become successful by creating 24/7 access. But as the demand surged, we really needed to increase our control room capacity almost by 30% to ensure that the surge demand is addressed immediately at the time of need. The second important part in the services is availability of emergency ambulances as well as the professional to treat the patients. And this is something which was important for us to dedicate a lot of, or almost 60% of our resource for the COVID during the peak of the COVID at our state. Also, another important part is affordability, which plays a key important role while providing the service. So all three A's were taken care while serving the patients during the COVID pandemic. The second important strategy which we adopted quickly was about ensuring that the right patient gets the right treatment, and the call triad was initiated immediately for the asymptomatic and the symptomatic patients at the time of the need. The second important part in the second strategy was the carrying triad. This means that when we deployed the ambulances, the patient needing oxygen, patient needing ventilator, and patient did not require oxygen support. These were the three important categories which help us to allocate the resources to the patients, so that we could able to literally serve the entire population, which is about 130 million population of the state. Now, the third important part under the second strategy was the care triad. That is where the hospitals were actually integrated in the emergency care of each hospital from our control room, so that patients were not left unattended while they actually went to the hospitals. Now, after looking at the availability and the care aspect, the resource was the key part which we needed to actually address during the pandemic. Now, for us, the key resources are certainly the emergency ambulances and the professionals who need to be available on the ambulances to treat the patients. Now, I hope that all of us understand, while the entire community suffered, certainly the professionals working in emergency services, control room, as well as the frontline workers equally suffered from the pandemic. But actually, to ensure that their well-being is there, we could able to make the special arrangements for them, so that they continue to serve the community without affecting their families. So the daily reviews with the local government was one of the key aspects of ensuring that the local resources were brought in during the times of the peak demand. The real-time monitoring, which was an important part of our strategy, where the surge of patients were literally exponentially high, like city in Mumbai or city in Pune, which were actually dealt by creating the smaller control rooms in the community. Like Mumbai, we had created almost 25 smaller control rooms at each ward level, as well as the major control room over there, and which subsequently became the model to ensure that to treat the patients in the smaller cities like Pune and other part of the state. The fourth important strategy was training and knowledge management, because it was ever-changing knowledge about the disease and about the response. We could able to internalize global and national guidelines so quickly that the guideline which was published today was internalized tomorrow. So that was kind of the teams created to study the guidelines and internalize the guidelines. Certainly the online platforms like Zoom were utilized to ensure that each professional is made aware about the new guidelines, and they were trained and the knowledge was shared. Now, the key important aspect which we took care during the pandemic was not only the staff, but we created this family support from our control room to ensure that once the families are good, the staff will able to optimally perform, and that helped us a lot to ensure that to respond and take care of the larger population at the state. Logistic management, which was the key part to ensure that the medical supplies were made available at all the locations across the state, and this helped us a lot to ensure that the patients in each nook and corner of the state were properly treated. The fifth strategy, which was important for us, was the change management. And all of us understand that the change is the painful process. It was understood that the changes were so frequent that every day we were looking for new change, and the processes helped us a lot to ensure that the change was uniform across the state, to ensure that the patients were taken care. Also, appreciating the staff at the decentralized level was one of the strategy adopted by giving their smaller news items in the local newspaper, so that they feel valued across the community, and they feel that they are certainly the part of the larger response. So this was something which was utilized to ensure that the workforce remains motivated across the pandemic. Now, the third important part of the fifth strategy was pilot testing. The technologies which we adopted were quickly pilot tested to ensure that the resources were made available at the shortest possible time. For example, ambulance aggregation to pool the private ambulances across the state to respond to the emergencies and meet the peak demands. The sixth important and most important component of our system was stakeholder engagement, and daily update to the stakeholders right from the village to the state, that everybody was on the same page as far as the resources required and the patients treated in their area on daily basis. That brought a lot of confidence in the team, a lot of confidence in the community that there is somebody by their side during their greatest need, and this helped us a lot to build the confidence and trust from the community during the entire pandemic that we faced. The coordination was another important aspect, and that is where we shared a lot of resources across the departments, including the hospitals, the stakeholders, the NGOs, which helped us. In fact, a lot of PPE kits, which we actually shared with our NGO partners to meet the real-time demands of the community. Planning and preparedness in the second wave was the key part for us, because learning from the first wave, we were brought into the second wave, and that was much more smoother than the earlier experience, than the earlier response. Now, if we look at these things, integration of the beds right in the control room, that helped us a lot to communicate with the hospitals. These kind of technologies which we actually integrated helped us a lot to automate the lot of processes which were required to treat the patients. If we look at the overall outcome of the team which worked during the entire pandemic, we took care of almost 590,000 patients as we go, and the response is ongoing. Right now, also we are on high alert as far as the response to the pandemic is concerned. If we see the 75% patients came from rural community. Otherwise, they have hardly any access to the emergency services if the response like this is not available. The urban community, almost 25% patients were served. And if you look at the age group, the productive age group of the population, which is served almost 73%, while the rest are children and elderly. If we look at the gender-wise distribution, in the first wave, a lot of male population was impacted, while in the second wave, if we see the number of female population impacted was slightly more than the male population. Now, one more innovation what we brought in to the newly formed Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir is we could able to get we can actually talk to a doctor. This helped us a lot, because we were already taking care of symptomatic and asymptomatic patients in the community, and we were proactively calling them. the almost 15,000 plus patients were actually treated by the doctors from the control room on call, and those who needed intervention, the intervention was actually done by taking them to the hospital. Now, these kind of telemedicine approaches and the quick intervention by the central government, like bringing in the telemedicine guidelines, that helped us a lot to ensure that the process deployment, at the shortest possible time frame. So this was what we actually could able to do in the shortest span of time. Thank you very much, Shiv, for giving this opportunity to share the knowledge and the work done at Maharashtra Emergency Medical Services. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Shelke, for your wonderful presentation. This presentation, in fact, created awareness among all the listeners of this presentation that the various facets about emergency medical service. One remarkable achievement, what I feel, is you could touch lives of close to 6 lakhs people, and as you rightly said, in such situations, you need to create a level playing field through transparent communication, and you were able to achieve it. This actually enlightened people how the requirements of this particular domain, requirements on the part of service providers, as well as the various challenges this domain faces. Thank you very much once again, Dr. Shelke.
And now, Dr. Alex, I would like to add to this, because one of the learning for us I found is like when, under such type of pressure situations, which was unusual, when you are moving for 4 times of the pressure and you are using technology. You mentioned that you use technology and to coordinate the responses under that time. How you keep the human motivation and sensitivity on the ground, that's one of the managerial challenges and leadership challenges rather. And when we talk of humanistic management, this, in fact, it's just a complementary approach, that while we are adopting best of the technology, we don't say that we replace it. We say when we are combining it, how we can also bring a touch of humanism so that we can deliver our best. So thank you. I join Dr. Alex in thanking you for this session. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much once again, Dr. Shelke. The next speaker for the day is Dr. Harpreet Singh. Dr. Harpreet Singh is the first lady CEO of an Indian airline. She has a doctorate in business administration with specialization in ethical business management with divinity, purity, and soul consciousness. She is presently Executive Director, Headquarters of Air India, and as a leader of aviation industry, she has broken numerous glass ceilings as the first woman pilot, the first lady ground instructor of pilots, first DGCA approved lady chief of flight safety, first lady accident investigator in India, and the first to launch QMS, SMS, and EMS in an airline. She has been emergency response director and conceptualized Angels of Air India, a strong humanitarian workforce to support in disaster management. Over to you, Dr. Harpreet Singh.
Good evening, good afternoon, namaskar to all my friends, colleagues. I hope I'm audible. And a big thank you to firstly Dr. Shiv Tripathi for adding me to this wonderful group. It's an honor and a privilege to be part of this Humanistic Management Network. I just love the name, Humanistic Management, because it tells you a lot from the name itself. And also thank you to Dr. Ernst Wong and for starting such a great endeavor. I have not come with a prepared speech. I've always believed whatever you do, you have to do it from your heart, and you have to do it from the spirit rising above the mind and the body. And when you do it with purity and with divinity, you automatically have a humanistic management approach. So my conceptualization and talk is actually going to be sharing a few examples in a practical way that how you can actually use the spiritual intelligence, how you can use this divine consciousness to actually help you to deliver solutions at the ground level to get results to happen. And that is what I will try to cover in the next few minutes. So my previous speaker spoke so beautifully about the hospitals and the amount of effort that they put in to manage the COVID crisis and the COVID challenges. So taking the cue from there, I would first like to just cover that how you can use the humanistic approach when we had this tremendous challenge of the pandemic, the COVID. As an airline, since I was the CEO of Alliance Air, you have so many issues on because your fleet are grounded. There's a lockdown in place. There's no movement, no transportation. Yet, you know, you have to find ways to connect to people, to help them, to get the vaccines to be transported to remote locations. And I realized that unless you have a good team in place that can go above this natural fear, this fear of the pandemic, the fear in the head that, you know, tomorrow I'll be the one in the hospital. And I'm not talking about the physical challenges. Of course, you have to take all the cautions, you have to take the precautions, you have to wear the PPE. Those things are taken for granted because a lot of evolutionary study went when COVID came in, and I was in Air India at that point of time. Now I'm back in Air India, of course, but I was in Air India at that time and I was the chief of flight safety. So we had to actually rewrite all these safety operating procedures to make sure that our passengers are safe. And the biggest challenge we had was to do that first flight. You know, there's always a beginning. If you recall, Air India took the lead. We were the first airline to operate to China, Wuhan operation, you may recall, February 2020, you know, where there was fear, no one knew what we are entering into. And then we had to plan this entire Wuhan operation. And this could not have happened if we did not have a humanistic management approach. We really knew that we had to do something to help those people who were stuck in China. We had to bring them with not enough knowledge and not enough scientific evidence of what really to take care of. All the kind of precautions that we could take, we built on SOPs, we took medical advice, took research advice, took inputs from the government of India, from the Ministry of Civil Aviation, collaborated. When you want a good humanistic management, you should not work in isolation, because when you work as a healthy universal approach, you get the best kind of solutions. And in that collaboration effort, we could not only fly into Wuhan, where everybody said that it was a no-no, we managed to bring back stranded Indians and stranded passengers from other parts of the world when Wuhan was shut down. And this I'm talking of, you know, January end and February, where we did multiple flights into Wuhan. So when you go above the fear consciousness, when you don't worry only about your own body, your own health, physical health I'm talking, you actually use the spirit to support. God himself comes and helps you. That's what my analogy is. In simple words, take your inner strength away on a bounding leap forward. You know, when you take a leap forward and you do it with purity and good intention, the management approach changes completely. So this was one example. Then when I came into Alliance Air, which was a much smaller organization, but very critical, because you had to use that to deliver those vaccines when the second COVID cycle had come in to the remotest locations in India. Now, when we are talking about the villages and the remotest locations, whether it is the pilots, the cabin crew, the engineers, the doctors, whoever was involved, everyone has a fear. Why should I be going there? Because I'm going to attract the disease towards myself. And I realized that I have to do something about this fear. And the fear is in the spirit, the fear is in the mind, right? We started something known as, I realized that unless you do something, it's not going to happen. So I started a group called Universal Prayers. I knew this involved the universe. This pandemic was not just in isolation, it was all through the globe. And every day, we decided from 4:30 to 5 in the morning, where it is peaceful, calm, we would collect using technology platforms of Zoom and WebEx, and we would all become powerful by meditating together, by praying together, and by using different prayers of different religions to also connect everybody together. I think this experience of COVID has taught me so much as an individual. It has also made me grow as a management professional, because I've realized in crisis, actually God is giving you the trigger to do something and to lead by example. And when everybody takes on this kind of leadership role, works together, the fear psychosis that was there, it just disappeared. And I told them, with the prayer and with your divine connection to the Almighty, you will have such an aura around yourself. The disease is going to be running away from you. You don't have to worry about the disease. By the fear, you're attracting the disease to yourself. But when you're a powerful soul and you say, I'm a pure soul with divine intention and I'm powerful, the vibrations are such in the consciousness and the vibrations that you emit and the teamwork that you work together with, automatically the team, which means together everyone achieves more, we get great divine results. So I am going by my own example. Like when we are talking about solutions, I'm talking of what I actually did. It's not just a theory in a book, or it is not just a lecture. And that is why I did not use a presentation, because I just wanted to share my experience. Because when you talk about solutions, each one of us is blessed with the mindset to have great solutions. We just need to go within. When we look at the global platform, when we look at the universe at large, and then we look at the planet Earth, even the Earth is just an Earth. There's so much beyond the Earth. So when you look at the universal space, and then you come downwards to the Earth, then into the continents, then into the countries, then into the cities, and then you look at who am I? You're just a tiny speck. We devote a lot of time in ego, in lot of time in body consciousness, which is wasting our life away in temporary desires, not knowing the real picture that you're just a tiny speck in this big universe that is created. And unless we realize this, we will not be humble. To be human, it's extremely important to be humble. So it's a constant reminder to yourself where you should be checking your own self. You may be the CEO, you may be a director, you may be whatever. These are just part-time worldly titles and nothing more than that. You have to recognize that if you really want good humanistic management, first solution is answer the simple question. Who am I? I am a pure soul. And when I look at myself in that respect, I start looking at every human being around me in the similar manner. And when I start doing that, I automatically vibrate that purity vibration, which helps us to do good things for our planet, for our organization, for our families, for our relationships, for our business environment, whatever. I may be working in a business organization, but what is my give back as a corporate social responsibility? You must have read in all the management books of the triple P concept. Nobody is saying don't do things to make profit. Do that, but not at the cost of humanity, not at the cost of the planet, not at the cost of people becoming sad. If you cannot empower people, there is something wrong in your business. So what we always say is checking. Do a quality assurance on your organization. Do a spiritual quality assurance. Check. Keep checking in your board meeting, in your discussion, in your interaction. I'm getting my business goals accomplished, but what is my spiritual quality assurance? Am I really on the right path? Is my team on the right path? Is my company on the right path? If I don't answer these questions, positively, I will not be able to correct myself if I'm deviating. Therefore, it's very important to challenge our own selves. Ask this question. If you really want good humanistic management to be in place across the world, there is enough for everyone in the world. It is only greed which has resulted in some people having more and some people having less. If we actually look at it in a very spiritual context, there's more than enough for every human being on this planet. So we have to be realistic about this expectation. Now, again, coming to a practical dimension, I handled 2 accidents as an emergency response director. And it is very important to proactively plan, prepare, have mock drills. And for that context, I developed a team called Angels of Air India. And I remember at that point of time, I was questioned, why this name Angels of Air India? I said, because I want to touch the divinity within these people who will be volunteering to come forward 24/7 at any time and spend days together in crisis management whenever there's disaster without asking for any additional income or any such thing. This has to come from within. And my senior management at that point told me, you really think you'll get volunteers for such a thing? But okay, fine, we'll give you an opportunity and go ahead. And I made a nice voluntary chart and asked for volunteers. And you'll be surprised, I had more than 1,000 volunteers just with the name Angels of Air India, because each one of you is an angel. They're not just in the sky above. If you can reflect on the divinity within yourself as a pure soul, and you start thinking like a pure soul, you are an angel already. And if you are an angel, you are going to be human. You are going to lead in whichever position you are in a very humanistic approach. Whether it is within your family, whether it is the attitude of cooperation, adjustment, understanding, empathy, kindness, devotion, it just naturally flows. And the same respect is towards our planet, towards the environment, towards the nature. When I started the environment management system in my company, I did it because I was passionate about it. And at that point of time, the airline business, they said, this is not core airline business. I said, yes, but sometimes you do non-core actions which help the organization to strengthen its fundamental duty towards the planet. And we started this environment management system, took various actions in whichever way we could to protect the planet. And we actually saved tons of CO2, tons and tons, just by that little energy in that direction. So what I'm trying to say is, it all has to come first from within. The other very important part is, when we talk about IQ, intelligence quotient, in any organization, we talk about knowledge-based information and etc., etc. Yes, it is very relevant, very important. You need to know your subject, you need to perform, no doubt about that. But along with that, do not forget the EQ, emotional quotient. The best humanistic approach happens when you also have a strong emotional quotient. And our educational systems, unfortunately, do not teach you that. They only teach you the knowledge-based, data-driven information, the logical part. They don't teach you the emotional quotient. And this is where we are missing the link between the humanistic approach. And the third very important relevant, which I have coined for my own self, the intelligence quotient, the emotional quotient, but the most important one is the PSQ, pure soul quotient. If you do not marry all these 3 together, you will not get the best results. Unless you begin an action looking at the outcome with a clear vision of purity. What is your intention of doing this function? What is the outcome? Is it a pure outcome? Is it something that's going to help people? Is it something that is going to benefit the planet? Is it something that is going to raise the universal consciousness? Is it going to help people to be happier? Then yes, go ahead. So what I'm trying to say is, if you can combine the IQ, the EQ, and the pure soul quotient, you will actually automatically imbibe humanistic management. And if we can inculcate this in our schools, in our colleges, make sure that along with the academic learning, we have some space for developing EQ skills. We have some space, India being the origin of spirituality, that we've just lost all that knowledge, which is like for years of traditional ancestral knowledge, actually today is non-existent in many parts of the country. I'm glad that last few years you see again the awakening happening, and a lot of people are again trying to recover and regain and come back to their roots. So let's not forget the important dimension which the Almighty has blessed us with. So combining the EQ, IQ, and the PSQ is wonderful. Now, what can you do practically about this? You have a tough business challenge in front of you. You have a logical decision to make. You make that decision, but have a practical review meeting, which also includes how did it contribute to society? How did it give back to your country, to the world? How did it help the universe? And how did it help people to be happier? What is the end result that we are looking for? If we can continue with that back and forth, you will realize that automatically your decisions start moving towards the humanistic approach. And it's very important that we think correctly. Thoughts are very powerful. Everything begins here. If your thought is pure, your words become pure, your actions become pure. So the kind of company that you live in, the kind of organization, culture that comes into every human being working there has a lot to do with what final outcome happens, right? So therefore, it's also important to pick and choose those organizations, those cultures, those systems where people are willing to adopt the pure soul technique, the emotional quotient technique. If it is a ruthless, very ambitious and only body conscious kind of business, the more we try to change them, the better. Let us send them healing. Let us practice meditation. And in the universal confluence age is what we are going through right now, where there's a shift happening, right? There's a whole cycle and it's going to repeat. So in this confluence age is the right time to do this. I started a spiritual foundation called HARPS. HARPS. You can see the logo on my screen. Basically, it involves no specific religion, but it includes every religious thought process. It includes even the non-religious, pure spiritual thought processes, because they all say the same thing. Actually, the deeper you go into the essence of every religion, of every spiritual talk, the essence is the same. What we do sometimes is we get lost in the theory, and the connection that we can get in that commonality of the essence, we sometimes lose out on. So we need to bring that together. So I'm happy to say that we could actually, in a practical way, using the HARPS, using similar such organizations, at the root cause level, make people fundamentally think differently. If you can start thinking differently, you're already on the right path, because it all begins with the thought of purity, the thought of peace, the thought of love, the thought of kindness, the thought of compassion, the thought of getting great results in whatever you're doing without compromising on your principles, without compromising on business ethics and your values. You get the best, highest marks only if you can do this, not by just getting the highest profits. You have to look at the bigger picture. In fact, I would say a practical solution is that all the organizations in the world should be graded on a very different matrix. And their give back to society and their give back to humanity should be one of the key parameters that is measured. Otherwise, we are getting lost in this worldly drama. We are all spirits with a human experience, right? So let's make this human experience a good experience, because we are finally all going to go back to the spiritual world. And then when we look back and we'll say we had a golden opportunity to have a humanistic, pure spiritual approach, and we lost that opportunity. So let's not waste our time. Every second is precious. The clock is ticking. The final destination is coming very close when you're going to transit from this life to another life. Every moment, let us devote it to service. When we spoke about oxygen and COVID, I was so impressed with the Gurudwaras. How much of effort, how many volunteers, just 0.2% of the entire world. But these 0.2% came forward, risking their own lives and giving oxygen in the cars. It's a glorious example of humanistic approach. I mean, we can learn from just looking around us. These are the people whom we need to encourage. And I'm not saying there were many others who did it. Such good examples is what we need to imbibe within our hearts, within our souls. I would like to end with a big thank you to Dr. Shiv and Dr. Ernst Won for making me a part of this beautiful chapter. And I'm more than willing to contribute in whichever way I can to help you, to help promote the correct way to do business with a humanistic approach. Thank you very much. Namaskar, everyone. God bless everyone.
Thank you very much, Dr. Harpreet, for a wonderful talk. It's an impressive talk. In simple words, you have put forth the idea, the importance of living every moment of life, making effective contributions to society. As you rightly said, organizations need to do an audit about the kind of impact, the kind of contributions they make to society. Only then we'll be able to know whether they are existing for the right cause. Thank you very much, Dr. Harpreet. The next speaker of the day is Sri Gerald Jaideep. Mr. Jaideep is the CEO at Medvacity and founder at Creative Sprout. Prior to this, he was working with FICCI as co-chair, FICCI Task Force on EdTech. And he was also the Chief Operating Officer at Simply Learn, a product of Bangalore University. The next speaker for today's session is Gerald Jaideep, and I request Dr. Jaideep to address the gathering.
Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Shiv, for inviting me into the session. Just give me a minute. Let me just share my presentation. Shiv, can you see the presentation?
Yes,
Is it
yes.
visible?
Yes.
All right.
It's visible.
Great.
You may proceed.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me to speak on this exciting topic of Society 5.0. I represent a part of society that has over the last 2 years been the center of focus and discussion on a global platform, and is also one that is already seeing the seeds of Society 5.0 emerge in how we collaborate, leverage technology, or create an impact for everyone in the world. My distinguished colleagues today have already spoken about how humanistic management and Society 5.0 in some form, and any attempt I make at explaining it further is likely to make it more confusing. So let me just summarize this in a few lines. I personally am a child of the information age. Computers emerged in our everyday lives as I started my professional career, and the internet became accessible only in the last 15 years. Knowledge wasn't universally accessible, and the world was divided between the internet haves and the have-nots. Over the last 10 years, things have changed quite significantly. Today, globally, smartphones and cheap internet have made information accessible to everyone. In a recent conversation with a senior leader at the NHS about healthcare education, specifically in the age of COVID, we discovered that all of us have access to the same information everywhere in the world. The only difference is how we apply that information to the benefit of society and in improving lives. Society's progress is not limited by the lack of information, but by the lack of application of that information. Hi, my name is Gerald Jaydeep, and I'm the CEO of Midvarsity. Midvarsity is one of the leading healthcare education companies globally, and we've been working at impacting healthcare through education. The emergence of Society 5.0 has been more visible in healthcare over the last few years than I assume in any other industry. Medicine and healthcare have always been at the forefront of innovation. Over the last 100 years, the emergence of technology in improving the quality of care is undeniable, as is the need to have better qualified doctors, nurses, and healthcare professionals. For Society 5.0 to be a reality, three fundamental shifts in healthcare need to happen. One, knowledge and information must be shared democratically, and new value has to be created. Two, technology should be able to solve social issues. And three, AI will need to assist human decision-making, not take over, but assist human decision-making. And if these three things happen, then we are in the midst of Society 5.0, and it can only get better from where we are. We saw an exceptional example of this during the last 18 months. At the peak of wave 1 of COVID-19, 45% of all COVID-infected patients had developed ARDS, acute respiratory distress syndrome. And as the world rushed to respond to this crisis, it was apparent that there was not enough mechanical ventilators available globally to help deal with this crisis. And it was during this time that a large number of scientists came together under the open source ventilator project and designed, developed, and shared plans for putting together simple but effective mechanical ventilators. This project had been inspired by the earlier open source insulin project that aimed to reduce the cost of insulin significantly in both developed and developing nations. Today, there are multiple open source initiatives in healthcare, ranging from contact tracing for infectious disease, vaccine research, robotic surgery, disease profiling, etc. So already the involvement of leveraging technology and knowledge and making it accessible democratically to create new value has already been established in healthcare. The second point of inflection for Society 5.0 is the usage of technology to solve social issues. While it is proven that genetics plays an important role in diseases and in general health, social issues can also deeply impact the quality of life for a human. Safe and well-paying jobs, for example. Home with access to clean water, access to quality food, stable interpersonal relationships, education, availability of quality healthcare. All of these are determinants of health and health outcomes. While others in this panel and across the globe are working on some of the other factors, areas that have seen a significant shift thanks to COVID include telehealth, teleconsulting, access to smartphones, IoT devices, even low-cost embedded computing, and cheap, stable internet access are playing a key role in bridging the gap between the technology have and the have-nots. We've seen this over the last 24 months in the way vaccination was done across India at every single corner of the country and now across the world. A lot of this enabled by access to internet and ability to book and block slots for your own vaccination. We've been all consumers of this access and impact on social areas. The final focus in healthcare in relation to Society 5.0 is, of course, the deep partnership between doctors, healthcare providers, and AI. It's a symbiotic relationship between machine and humans that brings the magic of AI to healthcare. Cancer research, gene sequencing, new molecule discovery, vaccine research, and other urgent care areas are increasingly being fueled by vast amounts of data. The power of AI allows scientists to go after the unknown, processing millions of terabytes of data to find that one insight that can change the way the disease has been managed. Diabetes retinopathy, a disease that impacts over 500 million people globally, can be detected significantly earlier thanks to a low-cost camera device like the one you have in your cell phone and the power of AI. But what's key to remember is that healthcare is still a deeply human experience, and that AI in healthcare is actually augmented intelligence and not artificial intelligence. Machines augmenting a clinician's decision-making. To conclude, well, for us at Medvarsity, the fact that knowledge has always changed lives, or availability or access to knowledge has always changed lives, has been central to our growth and success. Therefore, I believe that Society 5.0 is truly the seed of humanity's future. And what we need to discover is how to embrace it within our own roles, our own functions, and how do we contribute to its growth. And that essentially is what I wanted to talk about today. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to talk to this audience and engage with it.
Thank you, Mr. Gerald. Jaideep, you touched upon the importance of technology and how technology can be tapped to finding solutions for the various social issues, our society is facing today. Thank you very much. Next speaker for the day is Sri Paresh Raval. Paresh Raval is an environmentalist and social activist. He is a founder of Gramodaya Eco Village Network, Dharampur Village, Gujarat. And he works with the development of rural technology and traditional farming, and also supports the local tribal educational system. As a student of dramatics, psychology, and journalism, he created Gramodaya Eco Village Network to involve citizens in the creative journey of life with nature and experience. Over to you, Mr. Paresh Raval.
I think due to some technical issues, by the time you can invite the questions from, we can invite the questions from the delegates by the time he is joining. I think he was here, I could see, but I think due to some technological issues, he is not currently with us. So we can invite.
Yes. Yeah. I have received a few questions. A few questions have been texted to me. Dr. Pankaj Jain, if you are available. Dr. Pankaj Jain, are you available? Or Dr. Shelke?
Yeah, you can.
Dr. Shelke. Yeah, Dr. Shelke. Yeah, Dr. Shelke, a student by name Patma Kumar, he has texted me a question. So when you look at our country as a whole, did not the pandemic throw light on how our healthcare needed to improve? How humanistic has the approach our leaders in government and healthcare been in these times? Many in the medical field have used this time to make more profit, and political leaders have used it for image building and creating divisions. Now, in such context, what is the solution? What solution would you like to propose? What are the solutions to curb such events? Dr. Shelke?
I request organizers to unmute because I think that Dr. Shelke is muted. Dr. Ernst, is there anyone in the team who can unmute? I think.
I can see Paresh Travel now. Can we
I
ask
think this
Sri
question,
Paresh?
first we take this question because already Dr.
Yes,
Shelke
yes.
is there. So
Can I respond?
yeah,
Yes,
please.
please, Dr.
So I think there are two approaches to the current pandemic and response by the medical community to the pandemic, and the response by the government to the pandemic. The first part, this was, we in the Indian culture, the doctor is always considered as the god, and in the recent past, certainly the medical community has lost some of the trust and respect through the different practices, and all of us understand that. But this was the opportunity for the entire medical community to regain that trust and that status in the community. Many of them have certainly served the community and regained the trust from the people at large. But as the second component, second part of your question, that some professionals, those who were actually engaged in probably earning more money or profits, certainly that will continue to stay in the community. My response to this is certainly a lot of medical practitioners, and I'll say majority of medical practitioners, have regained the trust by serving the community during this time.
Thank you very much, Dr. Shelke. Now we'll move to the next speaker, Mr. Paresh Raval. Mr. Raval.
Hello, sir. Aji, I am ready.
Okay. Yeah.
Sir.
Yeah, over to you, Doctor. Over to you, Sri Paresh Raval. I have already introduced you to the audience.
Haji.
You may start. Yes.
Namaskar. I am Paresh Raval from Gujarat, India, and I'm I don't want to explain anything which is not relevant to my activity. Actually, even I don't have any slides and anything to display, but I want to share my own idea, and I want to share my own experience which I have worked with the rural community around Gujarat. I am fine. Everybody's listening to me? Hello? Hello? Hello?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You are audible. We are able to hear you. Yes.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you. So I want to make the three parts of my sharing. One is the education part. The another is farming in the rural area. And third one, the general, the impact of our activity in this area. So first, the situation in our South Gujarat region, the whole, the hill area of Sahyadri, where many people, or many villagers are staying in the situation where the children cannot go to the school, government school. So even there is no any basic facility of the vehicles or any bus. So the parents doesn't send their daughters into the school after 7th standard, because they have to work in the farm area and they have to work many things nearby their home. So the main problem was that the girls are not going to school after 7th standard. So many of we say the Chhatra Shala, Ashram Shala. So this Ashram Shala is providing an opportunity for the girls student there, where they can stay, where they can do their study, and by no money. Just these NGOs are just giving them opportunity to do study. So this from 7th standard to 12th standard, many NGOs in the very deep area of the in the hill area. So by creating this opportunity, now more than 5,000 girls are now regularly going to the schools, and all facilities of books, clothes, food, and everything is provided by the NGOs. And I'm involved in many NGOs, and my role is to teach basic English and the farming to the students, and basic environment education, the awareness. So this is the main reason that the students are now going to the schools. The another part is the farmer. Generally, they all are involved in the farming of rice and only cereals. So they don't try to grow any other things apart from only growing the rice. So what we have done, we have given them the new idea of growing many fruit trees. And for that also, we have involved the Department of Forest, that you rather instead of giving any other things, you try to grow as much as local fruits, which can be given to the farmers. So the Department of Forest has taken the opportunity, and they have grown many different varieties of the fruit trees. And that fruit trees we have given to the farmers. And now farmers are having a lot of money out of it, because the fruit trees, when they grow, it's required only 3 to 4 years to take care of them. After 3 to 4 years, they can come out with the fruit and they can sell nearby the markets. And due to not having any other opportunity in the farming, the youngsters are shifted, or they are moving towards the industrial area nearby Vapi and Bharuch, Ankleshwar, and many other areas. So the main fundamental problem is that youth is not staying in the village. So we have find another opportunity of making the rural technology. Like we have created some opportunity of making some good creative things from the bamboo, and from the you can say some farming tools. We have started one Mitti Dhan institution, where children can come and to learn how to make a farming instrument, and farming instrument which is very much useful, and it is giving less efforts and giving more benefits. And and we have created an instrument which gives also a very good result, and they are not supposed to waste their money to maintain that farming tools. So this is first time in the South Gujarat that we have created this opportunity for the farmer, that they can use the durable tools for their farming activities. And due to this effort, many farmers are saving their money to just maintain their farming instruments. The third important thing is that the whole area is having a lot of problem of the drinking water. So government has done many efforts, very good effort. Even the WASMO has made the arrangement of the rainwater harvesting, but somehow this people doesn't understand how to save water and how to conserve it in a proper manner. So our efforts is also to go, and the another challenge is in my area is the pesticides. It of the whole India, that whenever you want to use pesticides, so they say without pesticides we cannot grow anything. and this was not the answer for all. So we have started to explain them about the natural farming and the Sajiv Kheti, we said Sajiv Kheti. So by giving them a demonstration of how to use cow dung, how to reduce your pesticides, and how to grow your crops within 3 years by just treating your farm in a natural way. So after doing a 5 years effort, we are getting success now that many farmers have stopped using the pesticides. And when personally, when I belong from Ahmedabad, and when I shifted here before 20 years, and I have seen how much pesticide they use in the vegetables, I could not digest that how much pesticide we are just eating by not knowing that what is coming to our plate from the farm. So this was the very difficult experience for me. So finally, now our aim is to make the all farmer in our area to get pesticide-free farming, and for that we are constantly arranging the different workshops, and we are motivating them to grow their crops without pesticides. This is also one of the very important work of the area. And nowadays, our Prime Minister and our local ministers are also giving a lot of supports to the farmer. They have made many good financial support, plus even the medicinal plant support, which really I want to mention that in our tribal area there are many you can say the Ayurvedic practitioner, the Ayurvedic practitioner of many years, like since maybe 100 years. That third generation is also working now for the traditional medicine, and that medicine is very, very effective in all disease. I find 2 or 3 that Ayurvedic we say Ayurveda. So we have met them, we have seen their work, because they were dependent only on the forest. Whatever Ayurvedic medicine they need, they used to go to forest and cut some tree, and they used to take at home. So finally, what Department of Forest told that if you just cut all these tree and other herbs, then it is very difficult to grow it. So we have given idea to the Department of Forest that you also grow a medicinal plant nursery, and they are growing already. But still, with the help of the ideas of the Ayurveda, they have created one more department, Ayush department, Ayush Mantralaya, to encourage, to give the encouragement to the this Ayurveda. So finally, now these people are getting the real herbs and any other raw material from the Department of Forest, and now they are giving very good service to the people. So these 4 aspects is very much important in our area. One is farming, education, and water, and this medicinal practice. So now I think that I have seen this the whole range of 400 kilometers from Ambaji to Silvassa. This range has a tremendous variety of tourism, tremendous diversity of medicinal plant, very good diversity of bird and wildlife. So I think one has to promote, or rather I have promoted my area as a ecotourism. There was no ecotourism before some 15 years. In 2008, when our Prime Minister Narendra Modi was Chief Minister of Gujarat. So I have explained them about the importance of the ecotourism. So by how, if we implement the ecotourism, how can we support to the local community? So by implementing ecotourism, the Department of Forest created more than 20 sites in the core area of the forest area in the nearby the rural area. And that tourism has given the opportunity to many local people to serve by money, to serve by knowledge, and many tribal people have learned many things out of it. And their next generation is now taking care of all the sites by creating eco-development community. So I think if we don't have any opportunity in the rural community to earn money, we can rather use all these tools, different ideas to generate their capacity of earning money and better future for the new generation. So this is also one of the major aspects of tourism. So by creating a tourism awareness, the money can be and the good qualities can be introduced to the village community. And these are all our efforts are really giving a good result, which I have seen in 15 years. I am very much happy that I am staying with this community. I am rather learning with some, from them new ideas and try to implement as much as new things by giving our input of my friends, and we are getting the results. The practical way is the only way. If we talk about nature conservation, environment conservation, and whatever which I have seen throughout the India, it is sometime I have seen that some workshop and some other program is just creating an awareness to the urban people, but finally these people cannot go and give their time into the rural community where really the nature is existing. So our humble and simple efforts are giving very good result. So that's why we are happy that we are with this community and we are doing our best. We don't know much about the theories, but rather by doing practicals, we are getting many results. And we have seen if we give proper knowledge to this generation will pass the better knowledge to the next generation. So this is what I believe, and I personally request that if anyone is ready to, or if you have some time, please visit this area. And Mr. Shiv Tripathi has visited this area, and he find lot of opportunities is still here, and the people are very simple, and they are really waiting for the better tomorrow by not creating any disturbance with the nature, with the whole existence. They just want to sustain, and that sustainable approach can be generated by the community only. The aware people, the motivated people, the committed people, if they come in, if they go wherever they can go and find this kind of area and give them the little love and little help, then result is always there. Personally, when I left Ahmedabad, many people were telling me that what you will do in this area, you don't know how to survive. It is very difficult. But I don't find this when I have worked with them. Rather, I'm learning many things from them. So I don't have much for sharing because I'm a man of doing work. So this is what I have to share, that I have shared. And if anybody has some question, they can ask. This is all what I want to say, sir. Hello, sir.
Thank you, Sri Paresh Raval, for that enlightening words. As you rightly said, actions speak louder than words. You said that you are a man of work, you're a man of action more than words. And all the best for your endeavors, all the best for what you are doing. And you have dedicated your life for the development of rural community, taking care of nature, and today, in today's context, when we think of development, people see development only in terms of development that is confined to cities and in development of buildings, but rather here is an individual, here is a person who is committed to development of rural areas and local communities. Thank you very much for what you are doing to societies.
Thank you, sir. Thank you to all.
Dr. Tripathi, there are two more questions I have received. Can I pose those questions?
Please,
yes.
Please proceed with the question.
This is a question to Dr. Harpreet. Dr. Harpreet.
Yeah. Dr. Harpreet.
If you could unmute. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dr. Harpreet, Professor Joel M. Jacob, he has asked a question. He says, ma'am, you reminded us about quality assurance and to keep a check on ourselves in our boardrooms and organizations. But how do we ensure our leaders can do this when a lot of the time they are surrounded by those who are yes men or women and prefer the status quo? How do we develop an attitude of being open to change and divinity?
Thank you for the very nice question. And from this question, it appears that we are waiting for others to do something first. So what happens is that many times we get a little, disillusioned, or we think that, how will I be able to do this? How can I change their mindset? How are they going to think differently? But, I've seen like how the previous speaker has spoken and done so much of good work in the environment. You only will have to begin with the change. You first change yourself, start spreading the vibration, start finding a way how to address this at the senior leadership level. None of us have got it on a platter, right? We had the same questions which 20 years ago I used to ask, when will this ever change? But what happens is, you don't get demotivated with that. You start doing the small baby steps. When we talk about quality assurance, it is the small movements. You start small, come up with some creative idea, what you can introduce in your organization or on the planet in a small way, and start seeing the difference. And then just begin and make people happy. When people see others are getting happy and there's no selfish motive attached to that, which you have to make sure that before you begin that you have a pure thought. That why are you doing this? First, you do the quality assurance on your own self. And what happens is, slowly and steadily, you will find that you start earning the respect of people. And over a period of time, it does take a little time, no doubt, but you will manage to be the catalyst for that change. So first you begin with your smaller group, with your own self and the small team around you. Put some creative idea into place, because I don't know which organization and which structure. But once you start seeing it moving, the vibrations of purity are such that nobody can, be untouched by it. The level may vary, but it does happen. I hope I could answer, what you're actually trying to say, but begin somewhere. You will definitely reach your goal. Pure intention is the answer.
Thank you, Dr. Harpreet. There is one more question for you from Deepthi Krishna, if I can know is the question. Yeah, she says, in your talk, you mentioned that we need to focus on welfare measures, empowerment of individuals. The organizations need to focus on empowerment of individuals. And that means, we need to focus on welfare measures. But then if we lose focus on result or the larger objectives of organization, will it be sustainable in the long run?
Okay. So firstly, I think I did not speak about welfare measures. I was talking about humanistic approach, and empowerment of people means empowerment of the spirit within, the power to perform. You will realize, you read when you were very small, you must have read in the books, honesty is the best policy. I'll tell you how it makes a difference. You said the larger goal may not get accomplished. I can challenge you that you try it out. You will find when things are done with honesty and integrity, you get higher business, you get better effective results and more quickly. People waste so much time in dishonesty against each other, pulling each other down. If you just time yourself, you know how much energy they waste in office politics, on talking against each other, on trying to send emails which will get you off track. Just call everyone in the room, say we are not leaving this room till we come to a uniform agreed decision with full transparency. Let the conflict be thrown into the air. I'm talking of, I've actually tried this out, and let it all be resolved with, again, pure intention. That's the question. The intention has to be very clean and pure, because people can pick up those vibes. People are not fools, because everybody is pure actually from within. So that you have to touch that inner chord. Once that happens, you will find your business goals, what you are worried about, that you can't sustain those goals. It is impossible. I will tell you, in COVID time, when I was running Alliance Air, I introduced 10 new stations where there was lockdown. How could I introduce 10 new stations? With the same team, with the same people who were having so much of fear. Starting a new station and airline is a lot of work, by the way. During COVID, if we could do it, you can show how much magic you can do when there is no threat around you. So I am a firm believer that this is a myth, that you will not meet your goal. You will not only meet your goal, you will meet it in a higher quality fashion with a pure divinity involved, where you feel happier, you feel good, you can sleep well, you don't have to worry about the lies you've told, and everything is clean and happy. I'm telling you, try it out. This is a myth that it can't happen. It'll happen. You can call me there and I'll show you it happening. Just a few tips I'll give you here and there, and I can show you how the result will change. I'm so confident about this technique. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Dr. Harpreet. Thank you. Dr. Alex, I think we can take one more question because only 3 minutes remaining, and I think if there are some concluding remarks from Dr. Ernst or someone, maybe one question we can take quickly. If you have Dr. Pankaj is here, I think.
Dr. Pankaj, are you available? There's a question for Dr. Pankaj.
Yeah, you mentioned. So I saw him. He was here, I think. But anyways, so I think we have only 2 minutes now.
Yeah, he has sent a message. He says that he is not able to unmute. Organizers, okay. If you could, no?
Sorry, who is that?
Professor Pankaj Jain.
Okay, so when people log off, they lose the co-host status, and I don't see that. So now,
Professor Pankaj Jain, yeah.
Now he's back.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. Please unmute. Yes.
Okay,
yes.
I think it's okay now.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, sir, this is a question from Dr. Kailash, an academician. He says, sadly, education has become a business in our country, and even among students, the focus and drive has been to be more competitive than their fellow peers. In that case, how practical is it then to ensure humanistic values and spirituality to instill these values in our younger generations?
Okay, I guess this is a challenge for all policymakers, and thankfully we already have new education policy framework that was announced some time back. And I guess, yeah, I think competition is not bad. It's good to have competition among us, among students, among universities. That's the only way to higher and higher excellence. And better we, all policymakers, realize that if we can integrate humanities and sciences and technologies, not just STEM, but STEAM is the new buzzword, even in the US. Not just science, technology, engineering, and maths, but STEM is already obsolete. Now the next step is going to be STEAM, sciences, technologies, engineering, arts, and mathematics. So already it's happening in the US, and we always consciously or unconsciously we always try to follow what is happening in the US. So they are realizing their mistake of ignoring humanities all these decades. They are bringing humanities back. It is time for us to wake up and do the same thing here. And thankfully, new education policy will help us do that. Yes.
So thank you very much, Professor Pankaj. I think our session time is over. So once again, I am thankful to all the esteemed speakers and my fellow moderator, Dr. Alex, for taking the wonderful session in a wonderful way. Dr. Harpreet Singh, for your message linking about PSQ and not only the IQ or SQ. So we very much enjoyed that and learned from it, and hopefully it gives an alternative perspective to look at the things. Practical example from Dr. Shelke and then from Jaideep regarding how technology 5.0 could improve the healthcare systems. And finally, some lessons from rural context by Mr. Paresh Rawal, who highlighted that what the situation is and what he has worked and how technology, it's on up to academicians, policymakers, and other organizations that how we can support these efforts and we can realize humanism in practice. And finally, thanks to each and everyone. Thanks to Dr. Ernst. Have a great day, great evening ahead. Bye-bye. Namaste from India.
Thank you very much once again to the India chapter on delivering this wonderful session. And I just want to say that I'm very happy with the discussion that you've had. And I also want to say that Dr. Pankaj said something that probably unaware when he mentioned the arts, that couldn't be a better move to the next part that we're having, because we do want to integrate the arts in this conference also, and we have a lunchtime concert for you. So if you have time, for us, lunchtime, for you, it is an early evening concert, but we have two fantastic musicians from Brazil here who will be playing a little concert of the next hour for us. So don't go anywhere.